Yeah. Driver Down the Road, written by marvelous Marvin Mahaney. Yeah, we got a case of the OTT streaming and a malingering case of the crowdfunding runs. I know it's tough like that. These high quality problems are always, they're always there. And as always, Marvelous Marvin Presents has got a whole slate of shows coming up this month with some of the best blues acts in the South. He's brought the blues to the South Side. For more information, hit Marvin up on IG or Facebook, Marvelous Marvin Hamey. Just remember Triple N. Hello and welcome to the Weekly Read, live and currently disease-free, ladies. I'm Sean Reed. Don't forget to like, subscribe at the bottom of the screen, and comment right now. There are new videos on the craft, business, and art of indie movie making right here on the Jay Horton YouTube channel. I call him Jason. What's up, Jason?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Real good.
You're not exhausted?
I am really exhausted, but I'm feeling well.
Excellent. Jason, the Washington football team decided on a new name.
Who?
Yes, I see. I can see by the recognition on your face. What does this have to do with filmmaking? Well, I say fear not. One of the writers out there, they stole one of their really good fictional football teams. It's a real tussle, folks. The Van Nuys Commanders are marching down the field on the San Fernando Baiters. You could say the Commanders are in the command of the debaters, or the Commanders have a commanding lead. But really, some people wonder why the Commanders check naming rights. All the names for good football teams are taken. Just like a lot of the titles are owned by studios, you can't just name your movie The Shawshank Redemption, but you can name it Redemption. Why? Because Shawshank Redemption is more than an established name associated directly with the brand, where redemption is a common word and title has never produced a runaway or even modest studio hit. So that's why. So, Jason, when you're looking for a title, what's some of the first things that you do in terms of that process to keep yourself?
Well, the first thing I do when I, settle on a new title is I usually head over to IMDb. I see if there are any existing titles that are exactly the same. And typically you can't copyright a title. So like if it's an older, 1970 movie or a TV movie or an episode of TV, I don't worry so much about it. And then secondly, you can check to see if it's trademarked. But like if you're not a lawyer, sometimes that can cost a little bit. I think the last time I did a trademark search, it was like $199 or something like that. I think I did it through LegalZoom.
So fair enough. So that's why, and it makes sense. And of course, filmmakers, first thing, like team owners and other business owners, we do a little search. So, but we got to check in on one of the hottest things going on around here, at least, and hot molten blood. How is Craven doing there, Jason?
Oh, yes, doing really well. So I've been running a crowdfunder for my horror movie Craving. We're on the 6th day. We just passed $23,000, closing on 24. We got 200 backers. Still another 20 days to go in the campaign. So yeah, it's going really good. It's a lot of work. You always hear people say crowdfunders are a lot of work, but until you actually do it, it is a lot of work. I sat pretty much in this same position for almost 12 hours a day, sending messages, replying to messages, getting out the word on social media. It is a ton of work.
Well, it's been very impressive so far.
Yeah.
I really enjoy watching it. You announced one of my really good friends today in the cast, so I was very excited about that.
Yeah. Toya Mormon.
Toya Mormon is announced in the cast, so that's really cool. And we'll have more of those even diverse announcements coming up more, hopefully. And so, and just by the way, people who've tuned in to see Mr. Brian White, he will be up very soon. We're just getting into the introduction of this. So, and also if you're watching live, of course, then feel free to ask some questions. So let's get into this. Today we're talking about streaming and how it has not only changed independent filmmaking, but the world of entertainment. How did it happen? Streaming TV replacing traditional TV. Netflix didn't even sell DVDs. They rented them via mail service. Who had a Netflix DVD subscription? Okay. If you hadn't already, you're probably in the process of cutting the cord. Jason, have you cut the cord yet?
From DVD? Yeah. Pretty much.
No, from cable, mind
Yeah,
you.
no,
Right?
no, I know, I was
Yes.
joking. Yeah, well, not 100%. You know, I'm in a household where a lot of people are big sports fans, so you know the DirecTV comes in handy. But as far as my personal viewing habits, I mean, I watch it maybe once a month. Maybe there's a couple of shows I might DVR that I don't have that particular streaming channel or whatever,
Mhm.
but that's about it.
Yeah, I watch a lot of sports, so I do still like the DirecTV, but I could actually find a lot of those if I had to on other ways, through different ways, because we've come up with a lot of convergence on different things. So, but talking about streaming in general, how did it all start? In 1994, the New York Times referred to the Rolling Stones as the first rock band in cyberspace to promote their music to millions of streamers. There was some controversy, and it definitely could have been an episode of this show. And we're still not sure if they're really true, but in 2005, Saturday Night Live released their first video short on YouTube, right around the time the service was getting popular. And in 2017, Netflix introduced its on-demand service. Jason, what are some of those early experiences with streaming? Did you get some of those streaming? Were you on YouTube? Did you get that 2017 Netflix account?
You know, I'm trying to remember when I really embraced it, and it was probably Netflix was the first one. What was that? 2017? Man, it seems like it's been longer, but I believe it. But yeah, I don't 100% remember. I think it was Netflix. Like I was doing the DVD subscription, and then they went to the streaming, so I did that. I think probably Amazon came after that for me, and I discovered Amazon because, you know, like as a filmmaker, I had discovered that I could put movies up there. And that's kind of what led me to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was definitely just transitioning from being a subscriber to the DVDs to the actual streaming service, which seemed to make sense. From my side, it was also like we had started in the news world and news services. That one of the big things was VOD, video on demand, where you're able to not have to have a satellite feed watching them all the time and then recording them on the tape. You could just say, I want that story, and then they could download it in video, but you could also preview it. So
Hmm.
that was like the first thing. That was like around 2001, too. And then, of course, obviously, there's still some porn going on, but not too much. I just, other people, but they, were very much innovators. But is TV really dead, or is it merely evolving from one possibility to many to a few voices to everyone? From the chance box to watching it on your phone, from that chance box, I think I meant from that chunky box to watching it on your phone. And hasn't the smartphone been a huge part of this across platforms and devices? From the concept of concept distributor to self distributor, the it's all been happening. The power of YouTube and the previous focus of Amazon gave everyone the power to get their material to the world. But although the more markets, the better for the consumer and producer, it can be harder for the independent producer to work with large conglomerates in today versus theater owners of the past. Jason, you have documented a lot of the rise and fall of Amazon. How do you think that their chapter will be viewed in 10 years from now?
You know, that's hard. It's hard to say. You know, I think like my feelings are mixed on Amazon. On one hand, they opened up independent distribution in a way that had never been before. You know, to where any filmmaker could upload their movie, and if it was of technical quality, could put it on the new release wall right next to the big movies. And I think I'll forever be grateful for that. Like it totally changed how I looked at distribution, and it was also kind of a harbinger for where independent film distribution was going. I'm not saying that it's completely DIY, but there's these like hybrid outlets now, like Film Hub, where people can upload their movies and they send them out to these different platforms, major platforms, and you don't need a distributor or an aggregator anymore. And I put a lot of that transition, and popularizing of that method to Amazon.
Absolutely. I think that they're definitely will have that marker regardless of the fact that what audience they left behind or people or folks they left behind, that ultimately they did provide that for a certain amount of time, and they have their plans and they have their ways to be able to run their business. So for those of those watching live, feel free to ask questions on or off topic. And of course, for me personally, this was also a way in a thought process about getting World One TV. Starting with having worked at places like E and working through different things. So that brought me to working with E, and makes me think about bringing in our guest, which first we started working together. Redemption is a movie I produced and directed and co-wrote with Hunter Dennis. It's the story of one man's struggle to find his place in the world that he may be too sensitive for. When I was casting this movie, I was starting to panic because everyone that I auditioned was very good, but they just weren't what I saw as Christian Rain. And then Brian White came in. So let's take a look at the trailer to this movie and ultimately start a World One TV. And you can see that channel on ad free. But Jason, take it away.
You know what the white man's poison is? Money, greed, American truth. The Declaration of Independence, I am independent of responsibility, moral, or ethic. The Bill of Rights, as long as I'm making money, I can do whatever I want. That's you.
What happens when everything you want and everything you need?
Acting takes no talent. They want to look. They want instant name recognition. In my mind's eye, you're a perfect investment.
Come together at once.
When I got my gat, I get respect. Hey, let's get in the way. Boom!
When the lines are blurred,
Hey, I got the part.
anything is possible.
I was hoping you was gonna be there with me, man. Graduate.
Yeah, well, I made my choice.
Guess you did.
In the city where dreams can come true in the blink of an eye.
Get out of LA, boy.
One wrong choice can change everything. And haunt you forever.
Human beings, man, they need truth, not money.
I don't see a whole lot of truth out there. And I'm beginning to give up on love.
You in? Out. Nobody cares how you got out. Nobody cares why you're in.
You're trouble, aren't you?
What makes you think that? Me and Whitey got the world on a plate. Thing is, we get up in the morning, we can't figure out a reason to live.
Redemption.
You're living in the epicenter of what's wrong with America.
Great job on that cut trailer, Jason. That
you.
was some good work. A little old with a little new. I mean,
Yeah.
this movie is it's getting a little agey there, getting a little long in the tooth, just like a few of us there. And I wasn't exactly in love with that original trailer that Artisan put together, but it felt like they were making it like an LA gangster film. But you know, I'm curious because you've seen this now, and we kind of distribute this through Zapruder Flicks, New Cinema Tribe, and stuff like that. How do you describe this film, or what obviously it's not an LA gangster film, but I'm curious, what do you think of when you think about Redemption?
You know, I think of it as kind of a Romeo and Juliet tale. You know, set against the backdrop of downtown Los Angeles or Hollywood. You know?
Yeah, Silver Lake. It was Hollywood,
Silver,
and Silver Lake.
Lake. Yeah,
It was very Silver Lake shot and Hollywoodish. So yeah, that's pretty. Yeah, and that's pretty much more of it is. It's definitely probably more of an art film, but as it's so much of flogging the lily, because I know that there were so many people there. They don't want to hear from us. They'd rather hear from Brian.
Totally.
And why not? I didn't put World One together alone. Other great minds for marketing, producing, and business is here. Star of stage and screen, entrepreneur, citizen of the world, co-founder of the World One TV, Mr. Brian White. What's up, man?
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Good morning. How are you, sir?
Uh-oh.
Good to see you.
Wearing
Can
my
you hear me?
earphones.
He's like, oh, hold on a minute.
1 second. I lost my audio.
No worries. We can
This
fill
button.
in a minute. Come back in, Jason. Come back in. No, we're okay. So this is how it
Hey,
technically
huh?
works.
What?
What? No, we're okay. We had a slight audio thing.
Technical
We're riffing.
difficulties, technical
Always,
difficulties.
man.
We got a technical thing going. So filling in there.
Hello,
so
hello.
I think that he's there now. Okay, good. Perfect.
Hello.
All right.
You can
He's
hear
got
us.
it. Can you hear me, Brian? Not
Oh,
quite
boy.
yet.
I can't
Okay.
hear.
Okay, so we're still in a just smile and look good. You'll be fine. Uh, so one of the things that we often do is that we'll just kind of retread into some things. Do we have any other questions from the audience? Guys, this is a chance to ask Jason and I some questions.
Hello.
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Can you hear us?
Let's give Kenneth Trinell a shout out for throwing us a super chat, man. Really appreciate that. $5. Thank you, man. That was nice.
No problem. That was very nice. Brian, can you hear us? I think he's rehooking up. I think he's close. This is why we do things live like this. Can you hear that, Brian? Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you hear us now? No, can't hear us now.
Maybe try. Hold on. Let me go to the
thing and chat. Maybe tell them to log in and log out. So, and I guess I can go whole screen for a second.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Maybe. Trying to get the sound.
Well, we can hear you. It's just, can you hear us? So we could have to do sign language. Maybe try you're gonna try logging him in and out, because sometimes that's the issue too. He might be texting you now. Okay, this is good stuff. I love it. We love being live. So one of the things that is cool is that we were going to be talking about with World One TV is that we're planning on at some point kind of doing the Amazon thing and giving you guys the ability to upload. We're not there yet, and we're not so much as taking outside stuff. But it's definitely going to happen, and that is our plan. We've been very fortunate because I know I've gotten some online things, people asking, "Hey, do you have what does it take to get my movie on there?" Right now, we have a kind of a complete library, and we'll be looking to expand when we have more staff. But you can imagine Jason even licensing one movie at a time, which is kind of what we do, but then trying to do it for a library of 400, 500 people is something that can be very difficult. So, but thank you guys so much for sticking with us. And also thank you, Kenneth, again, for the great shout out. Thank you. We appreciate you and appreciate all those folks that are actually watching right now, as I am now going to fill some time as we talk about some other things. I almost feel like, nobody came to see me. Why don't we put on the Redemption trailer again? I'm joking. But one of the things that I was going to be talking about with Brian, which we'll talk more about, is when he gets here, is what are some of his favorite titles. One of my favorite titles on the site is Freedom, which I see that they're back. Let's see if we can actually talk and hear and go back. Let's see. Can you hear us?
Hey, are you guys there?
Oh, you can hear us. Okay, so without further ado, see you later, Brian. See you later, Jason.
Right.
We'll say hi to Brian.
Hello.
Hello. Well, welcome.
Good morning. Sorry about the audio hassle. My computer Bluetooth wouldn't sync up with these earphones. So I could hear, but I couldn't speak.
Yeah.
How are you?
Good. How's it going?
Good.
So thank you.
Just dropped off my daughter and came running back to join the conversation.
So it's part of your day, and excellent. Glad you could drop in with us here on the Weekly Read. So let's go right into this, because I would just start with why did you actually get involved with World One TV in the first place? What was the inspiration for you?
Sure. So for a few reasons. One is where the industry is going, and when I got into it, I got into acting later in life. I was a professional football player, a stockbroker. It wasn't like I went to Dartmouth College. I didn't want to. I didn't grow up thinking entertainment was an industry that was a possibility for me. So I was always thinking about longevity. And when I started in this industry, I wanted to be a producer. I wanted to be like George Clooney, and made a few studio films. But one of the things I've always done since working with you is made 2 or 3 indie films every year. And over the past 10 years, since Amazon popped up, which has been more than that, you start to see your movies that you produce on some other streaming network. And specifically, the amount of money that diminishes from a content creator, it's shocking. It feels like stealing. You used to have $100 in your pocket, and now you get 6 cents. When a A broadcast network or a real, when you exhibit something in a theater, all the talent, all the crew, everybody involved, all the music on it gets paid a real piece of that money. So if the movie goes out and makes $100 million and you had one line in it, you're still going to get a check from SAG every year until that pot runs out. The biggest difference with digital and streaming is that doesn't happen. So example, Netflix has a cap of maybe $150,000 that they'll pay your B+ list actor. But if you break through that, you're getting $100 million to make them anywhere from 1 to 10 movies. Like there's the new Ryan Gosling, Chris Evans movie. These two guys are getting paid more than they'd make in 5 movies at a studio usually because of the dearth of content. But the top eats all that money, and the bottom, even if you're making the movie, they buy it once and they never pay you any residuals. So I realized pretty early on that being a streamer and being able to distribute your own content is the only way you're going to keep more than a penny of every dollar on your stuff. It's great to get exposure from Netflix and Amazon, but after you put out 20 movies, it's not the exposure you need, it's the income from the actual movie that you made, that you paid for. And if you're selling it to a streamer so that they can distribute it, they're really not paying you. They're paying you so much less than what a broadcast network, an NBC, a Fox, a CBS has to pay you. They have to pay you long residuals for everything they do. And if they sell that down to Netflix, which is just digital, or Amazon, they have to pay you on that too. But if you made it for Amazon Studios originally or Netflix originally, they don't pay you if they sell it up to ABC or Netflix or NBC or theaters. Michael Rainey, the star of Ghost, and I made a great original for Netflix, and it was intended as a theatrical. If it goes theatrical, we make out. We get all that extra bump. It didn't, and Netflix decided to release it as an original. They really liked it. It did great for them. Over 20 million people viewed it. I don't see one penny of that money. So does it benefit me? I made that movie specifically to get a great message out and because I love Michael. So yeah, it benefited me. But if I made it to feed my daughter or, buy a car or anything, that didn't work out so well. So that's the impetus was the business of how entertainment works these days. Following guys like Jay-Z or Prince or Ray Charles who owned their music all these years ago because they understood if you don't own it and you're not in the distribution channel.
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit. I don't know if the microphones got further away from your mouth or.
Oh.
It was
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better.
Sorry.
Okay. So with that and in thinking about all those things, and you're an entrepreneur, you have a company called Preneur. And we'll talk about that. But in that, we kind of came to this point where we were working on another project that didn't quite work out at all. And this kind of came up and on some level materialized over a year ago, just about a year ago. And we were just kind of putting all this stuff together. What do you remember thinking at that point when we were just trying to come up with names? Do you know what I mean? It's you're just running around and we're well, we got to come up with this name and just going back and forth with this name. So think about that.
When we were getting into it, it made me go back and watch our movie Redemption about 3 times. And just how the similarity between the real relationship with your father and you, and then me playing you and my relationship with Hollywood, how similar it was. I'm from Boston, Massachusetts. I went to Dartmouth College. I'm a bookworm, a techie. And in this movie, I'm, trying to find myself, but you're thrown into an industry where they define you already. I was the gangster. Christian could have been farther away from a gangster, but that's what was being presented to him in the industry because that's his lane. And you see him sitting with his dad, who's very white collar and extreme, international businessman, and his son's being pigeonholed in the antithesis of that. And that was a lot of what we talked about on set. Your father's such a sophisticated, well-traveled, well-read, well-educated, man, and we're making a movie that's talking about how limiting the entertainment industry can be if you don't have the control to decide what gets made and what gets said. And it's the only way that that's ever going to change is to be the owner of the distribution company. And that's, the risk that you and I, after 21 years for me and more than 21 years for you in the industry, your dad ran a network for somebody else and for many, many years. And
Several.
Yeah, and the conversations led to you're never going to get to the result that you want until you put in the risk and do it yourself. And so I took the chance with you, because you've always been, a guiding light for me about, what needs to change from your time at E. Being the type of man that can stand in a room and hear the words, "This network isn't for you," from your boss, and not revolt, to realize I have to stay, I have to elevate myself to a position where I can make effective change happen, and not just say, I don't believe in that from day one. And you put in that sweat equity in that work, and that's super inspirational, because that's how change comes from within. And if you're not inside the industry, you can't change it. And
you need those opportunities to learn. I mean, it's like, at least there were a lot of opportunities that were provided to me at E, specifically, even as a community, even to the point to today, where last week when I posted on the site that everybody's excited about it. And a lot of people that work there will be the biggest supporters of one, because as somebody pointed out, there's no one without E. And for me, there's absolutely no World One TV without E, because of those experiences and what I got to learn there, and being in a place like that where you're working in that type of environment. And I certainly probably wouldn't have made Redemption and met you without that. And then, interestingly enough, your wife of today worked there. Interestingly enough, how all these circles.
And my daughter's godmother, African American. I love you, Carmen. And my wife's Argentine. And the three of you guys sitting in E and hearing all those same words was just really, really eye-opening for me. And, made me think about, juxtaposed against current day, most of the prolific shows intended for African Americans, at least in broadcast, are made by Fox. Fox is synonymous with Sinclair Media, and Sinclair Media is synonymous with misinformation in our community. So it's just interesting that the holding company of somebody like a Fox, or their PR arm, let's say, their agenda is opposite of what I want to see happen in the world. And the shows that they use to get me to buy into their streamers are really popular shows to me, like a show like Empire. I love Terrence and Taraji and Lee, and so of course I'm going to tune in every week. But it's supporting other stuff that I'm not necessarily about. And so, again, the only way you can change that is to have your own streaming service, and then go back to the Tarajis and Terrences and say, hey, we built this. Can you guys now make content for us, and move those eyeballs over to a place that's more inclusive and positive, and underneath it all about it, a different message. And, that's why I'm here. I'm trying to make a change for my daughter. I have a daughter now. She's 7. She's watching a lot of TV, and I want to make sure whatever the channel she turns on, she can watch all of it. And it's not going to... it'll help her grow and not create problems for me and us that we're not ready for. And, this is a very positive, inclusive, uplifting network where we celebrate everybody and we try not to tear anybody down. And, that's definitely new for me.
Well, awesome. So to you, what's special about World One TV? I mean, you can see, especially since we've really started, what I would call our kind of just our rollout phase. We've got all these different kinds of things you're seeing from us in the postings, but it's really about the material. So really, what is it about, World One TV that stands out to you right now against everything else that's out there?
What our focus is inclusion. Our focus is, like I just mentioned, to make sure that it's family viewable. Networks and specifically streamers are so specific these days. It's the networks for 8 to 12-year-olds, or it's for 60 plus, or it's for, Latino women from Uruguay. It's so specific. And we have one world, we all live in one place. So we have to try to find content, which it definitely exists, that can speak to families, and that can leave families with food for thought. That's what good entertainment or good music is supposed to do. It's supposed to be the start of a conversation after you watch it or after you listen to it. And what I'm seeing in our content as we grow, 200 plus titles right now, is I'm able to sit down and turn stuff on, and my daughter's in the room, my wife's in the room as I'm screening it, and they're able to crowd around and watch it with me. And my daughter starts asking questions. My wife doesn't walk away. It's family. It's inclusive. It's positive. There's nothing that's going to be negatively shocking Most of these streamers are trying to do salacious stuff. You might catch a couple scenes and something you're like, whoa, my kid really didn't need to see that. That's not the case at World One. And that's right now my favorite part about where we're at in our infancy.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it was definitely a huge focus to be inclusive, to be diverse, and to not even just say we're black or we're white or whatever, but to be more of a inclusive for people of color, or to me, ultimately for people who are going to be related to people of color. I was talking to a gentleman who I'm going to be going to the NASCAR race with this weekend. I'm going to the Clash at the LA Coliseum.
Nice.
Yes. I've got Daniel Suarez. I'm a guest of his. I'll be meeting him and I'm talking about World One TV. But the gentleman who I'm meeting with, who is very Southern, very white Southern, his two sons, one had gone down and met a Mexican woman and married her. And during the wedding, the second son came down and fell in love with the bridesmaid. So one son lives down in Mexico now. So I said, hey, World One TV is for you too. He's like, absolutely. He's like, I'm working on my Mexican. And we're also working on his Spanish. It's not working on his Mexican culture. Anyway, but ultimately that idea that we're all kind of in one big pot, and then that really, because there is only one, we only have one world, and we only have so much, and we only have so many resources, and we really need to share those.
You mentioned NASCAR. I'm a huge fan of NASCAR. I got my certs to drive in Chicago when I was working on Chicago Fire. Everybody there rides bikes to the show. Everybody rides a motorcycle to set, even the ladies. And they had Edwards on the show. And so he took us out to the track and gave us some lessons and let us be the marshals for one of the NASCAR events out there. And then met the black female owner and Bubba Wallace and realized, the perspective that's shown there. I didn't realize how many minorities participated in NASCAR until I started getting interested. From the crew, who were mostly ex-college football players or athletes, which means that half of them are minorities. And you go out there and you look up in the stands, you're like, at least 20-30% of the people here look just like me. And they're playing a lot of diverse music, rock all the way over to hip hop, and everybody's hugging each other. It looks a lot like going to a wrestling event, which I was also shocked at how diverse it was.
Yeah, the Clash is going to be, and I think it really shows how NASCAR is really working hard to be diverse and inclusive, because even able to overcome what they overcome with, Kyle Larson having his faux pas on, live stream, and having Bubba have to go through the so-called noose thing, which really wasn't a noose thing, but they still stood with him. To ultimately where now you've changed the LA Coliseum. It's the week before the Super Bowl. Pitbull is performing. Ice Cube is performing. They've added another owner who I think I can't forget who they've added a rapper. I can't remember his name that's got ownership now too. So they've added another black owner this year.
Yep, absolutely.
Brad Doherty was really the one who really pulling back past. He was really the one who helped really push minorities in as becoming one of the first owners. And of course does a lot of talk. I believe he's on NBC. But he, as a former athlete and being from North Carolina, I believe, right, really helped, I think, be a bridge for that. And we're really looking at trying to be with sports. I'm very interested in motorsports because I think when you look at it, there is a globalization that goes with that. It's very multicultural, like tennis, like the sport I played, where you're really spending time with people from all over the world. And I think that really helps as a child, and growing up in those environments, you learn to accept people faster because your tennis coach doesn't speak the same, doesn't speak a lot of English or whatever that is. It gives you a little more insight, or playing soccer, it gives you a little more. So, and you played lacrosse, which gives you actually a cultural insight into our history a lot more, and into Native culture.
Yeah. Native American game, the Iroquois.
So those things give you more of a cultural well-being, and that's something that World One TV is really focused on. Is not just, you're not going to tune on there, and yes, it is Black History Month, and yes, you're going to find a lot of great projects. You're going to find stuff with a lot of really influential names in the business, not just Brian White, but Cuba Gooding Jr., Gordon Parks, Jim Brown, I mean, a lot. Tiffany Haddish's first project. We have a Kevin Hart first project on there. We have a lot of we have in the music side, we have names after names, BB King, Muddy Waters,
Beyonce.
Beyonce. So, and then we have children's programs that we're working on growing. We have spiritual things in places where we're working on growing and getting more of that. So it's like you can spend hours. And then in the documentary, boy, which of course got a lot of Zapruder flicks. Thanks, Jason Horton. Thanks Zapruder flicks. We've got Bigfoot documentaries. We've got documentaries on Henry Ford. We've got, educationally, you can go and spend time. And if you've got a subject to research, there's a chance you more than likely, because I like researching, there's a chance you probably will have a documentary. I have one of Gordon Parks's best documentaries done by him with his narration, Moments in Time. We have a Gordon Parks directed film that is the original 12 Years a Slave, that is Avery Brooks's first project. That was a PBS film. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that probably even Brian hasn't discovered yet, because there's so many titles on there. So what is of the titles that you have discovered, what are some of your favorite titles on World One?
Oh, I don't know the title. I watched it 2 nights ago. It's Cuba's period movie.
Freedom.
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 That's what I was watching with Lay and Pau. And so Layla saw Cuba and was like, Dad, he looks like you. Is that you? She thought it was one of my movies. And I was like, no, that's Mr. Cuba Gooding Jr. He's an Oscar winner. And my wife stopped and she said, whoa, you have a Cuba movie? And I said, yeah. So we were all standing around watching until Layla had to go to dance class. But that's when I realized representation, quality, clean is a big, big, big deal. That she can see it and then stand there for 5 minutes and become engaged with it and start asking questions about the story and the narrative. And what are they talking about? Well, this, is a period piece and this is Black History Month. So, let's talk about, we went to the library and she ended up bringing home the Hidden Figures book because of the clips that we watched. She was interested in the moment about Black history. My wife ended up taking it to the library and she came home with the book because of watching 5 minutes of the scene with Cuba Gooding Jr. And
there you go. Freedom.
If that's all that this network like this does for other families is make their kids interested in their culture, then I think we're really onto something.
Well, and I think that into all cultures. I mean, one of my favorite documentaries, and I want you to check this one out because I want to expand more, especially, and as you talked about lacrosse, one, I'd love to do more on lacrosse and minorities involved in it, but also more, I'm very interested in which is all of our, just like Black history, Native history is our history, is American history. One of my favorite documentaries is Chiefs, which really looks at that lifestyle and looks at a different perspective. One of my other favorite ones is Black Like Me, or Black Enough, Not Black Enough, which was done by a Black woman and really examines that. And then on the drama side, we've got a lot of just solid movies, not just Redemption, obviously, but just John Claude Lamar titles that we've got, like I said, we have Avery Brooks, we have Tiffany Haddish, and then we've just got a lot of variety there. So I think that people are going to have fun with that, and then the music is definitely someplace. And by the way, for those watching live, feel free to ask questions on or off topic. So what other projects are you up to these days?
I'm producing a bunch of stuff. I just shot a series for BET. I shot a series for Urban Flix. Again, focusing on the digital content creation, because when NFTs came out, I went straight to my agent and said, I'm an NFT, right? I mean, I have a corporation to make content. I license my content to the studio. If I have a distributor, can I license the content? Can my distributor own it? Anything that I'm in, and we get the rights back at some point. Because the thing about being an actor or being a content creator is you want to get those rights back so you can participate in the profit waterfall. And so the paradigm shift for me owning a streamer, where my agency and my management company help me represent it. My manager is my producing partner. He runs my company. So I said, when we sign up for jobs, can we be in that waterfall where we're taking the position that, World One is an owner on this, and we're leasing it for X amount of years, 10, 20 years to NBC, but we get it back. So looking at the last 21 years of content I made over 100 projects. If I got all 100 projects back, after the 10 years that they use, and I could upload them all to World One TV, I'd make tens of millions of dollars today on content I made 20 years ago. And that was as we're sitting here talking, the number one thing. Like, if Tiffany Haddish, all the movies that she's got in theaters right now, if she was the executive producer, because she's been a star forever. So as soon as her first movie, she can get the credit. But there was nowhere to put the content. She didn't have her own distribution arm. So she needs the Netflix or the Amazon, and they pay her handsomely for that. But she would do even better if, after their 5 to 10 years of using it, they had to give her back her movie and she could put it on her own distribution arm. Her kids would eat $100 million off that later. And that's what we're talking about, the generational wealth that content, everything is content these days. That's why Instagram pays us to use our pictures to market products. We get the service for free, but they make hundreds of millions of dollars on our images that we're uploading there. It's the same concept here. And I think that's, the exciting part for content creators of, joining something like World One, because you and I are producers at heart. We're trying to help people create great content. And we want our subscribers to be content creators, and we want to help them keep their money for doing so. So this is a whole paradigm shift, and I'm just excited to be a part of it and explore all these things and help them come to fruition.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the Weekly Read. So how do folks get a hold of you? Not literally, but how do they get a hold of you?
Literally, preneur.ai/Brian White. That's the new way. You can go to my Instagram and just click the link. You can go to any of my social media pages, but Preneur is PRENEUR.ai/my name, Brian, BRIAN White. That will link to absolutely everything, including World One. The second button on that page, click it, and it'll drive you right to World One and watch some of our content, watch Redemption.
Yes, World One will be, and we will be pushing that harder to when we have rolled out to all of the platforms, but you can certainly go in and even take a look at the site. We are currently on Roku, so if you're individually on Roku, feel free to, just download it and go for it. And we're also we were on one more. What was the other one?
Fire Stick.
And so we're on Amazon. So we're back on Amazon. Redemption's back on Amazon now because they take it. So we're on Fire Stick. So check us out. And yes, we will be offering a free trial very soon once we are live. We just want to make sure we're able to give you service through every avenue. Through everything, because that's the evolution. You want to be able to put it on your TV, you want it on your phone, you want anything. We want to make sure that you're on all of those things, but certainly feel free if you're okay with just being on the website or Fire Stick or on those things. Just know that those will be coming online, or contact me directly and I might be able to hook you up. So just let me know.
All the apps are coming online, so download. It's free, and we'll get you that great content that you can watch with your family and feel good about. And a lot of it will be interactive. So Sean and I will be setting up a screening, another screening of Redemption. I'll have another 2 or 3 movies I'm trying to bring over. Again, it's that rights issue, but if we can get them, then we'll be able to stream them live and just have a more robust content stream where you're not just watching stuff, but you also get to interact with the content and hopefully make some of your own at some point.
Well, absolutely. And, we're planning on rolling out to be, we'll have live events very soon. Live hits, even Weekly Read will be over there to be found.
I can mention a couple of things. I have a couple of groups. Sean's mentioning live stuff we're teasing. We have a couple of concerts that we're going to do live and some studio sessions where we'll get to spend, a full hour or more with the group recording some of their music that you are re-recording some of the music that you're very aware of. These are some popular groups. So there's some exciting things coming up as soon as we're able to go live. And so stick with us, download the app, and I look forward to seeing you more on World One.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Brian White. And we'll bring Jason in and we'll take Brian. Oh, look at Ed Laborde over there. So anyway, thank you so very much. We just slid around on all different kinds of directions. But hey, great interview. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Jason, for directing, producing over there. Are you back?
For what it's worth. It was my first day.
Yeah, and so how's the campaign doing while you were over there? I'm sure you were checking yourself on your campaign.
Yeah. We just got another $400 on it. Across 20. We're like close to 24,000 now.
Excellent, good job. So let's get into this. So stay tuned. The Weekly Read and the Jay Horton YouTube channel for more information on World One TV and Craving. Next Friday, we will have Distribution the Studio Era. So wait a minute. And yes, come back.
Sorry,
Go back the other way.
I removed you.
Go back the other way.
There you
Okay.
go. Sorry, go ahead.
So one of the things that we were talking about earlier was that idea of what was I trying to get to? Okay, so yes, we're going to be talking about distribution in the studio era next week, and one of the things that I think that we want to get into is how those patterns, especially setting the studio patterns, the theater patterns, did not change for such a very long time that really they're only changing like now by the way that the things that Netflix is changing, and how the de-emphasization of that has actually taken some money out of everyone's pocket but put it into streaming. Yes, we understand. Now World One TV, we're doing revenue split, so if it's a revenue split, it's a revenue split. So Kevin had something to say. Let's see what Kenneth is saying down there. Do you got that, Jason?
He said very informative interview with Brian.
Oh, thank you, Kenneth. I'm glad you enjoyed that. So let's go back on that. So that's what we'll be talking about next week and in more depth. So Jason, how do they get in touch with you besides being right here, obviously?
Yeah, well, a big thing right now, check out the Craving campaign. It's www.cravingmovie.com. I really appreciate any kind of support. If you can't put anything financially, share the campaign, talk about it with your friends. It's really been amazing how the horror community has been coming together around this project. You know, we have a lot of backers. We've raised a lot of money in a short time, and I think we're going to make a really special project. Aside from that, you can find me pretty much anywhere at the J Horton, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever.
And what's coming up on the J Horton YouTube channel?
This week, I have a interview with a screenwriter from the UK named Ryan Hendricks. It's a really good one. This guy's an independent screenwriter. He's had several like independent horror scripts produced, and we get into the business side of screenwriting and what it takes to be an indie working screenwriter. And then on Tuesday, how to make money with no budget films. Just one of my videos, straight videos.
One of those classics. He does make money because I count the money and I can't count, but I can count the money. Count the money. Count the money. So awesome. You can hit me up on IG at Sean Alden Reed or New Cinema Tribe, and of course World One TV. Our Facebook group is where we're really building out stuff. And you can find more about that. But of course, world1tv.com will give you some information. So be here next Friday, February 11th, 2022 at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific for the weekly read. And thanks to Jay Horton for the use of his channel. And thank you so much for watching. And of course, thank you to Brian White. And I guess I saw Ed Laborde and Gentegra. Thank you so much. I think if I got that name right. Thank you guys also very much. I am going to hopefully be getting on a plane and heading to LA. I'm going back to Cali. Hopefully you all think so. Hopefully they don't think so. I'm out. Thanks a lot.